Hello and welcome back to Woodhill Park.
I've been adding detailing, as you saw in the end of my last update. I made this little hut, tried to make it look like it was from the 70s and 80s, sort of a clean brick finish, a light brick. Probably had a bit of weather in at some point. At the moment I'm just content with putting it all together to see how it looks, and I thought I'd add sort of road cones and stuff just to keep the cars in place while the guys are dealing with them as they come up the ramp, and letting them through the barrier and seeing if they've got a ticket, and then letting them drive to the parking area while they wait to board. And this is what I'm going to do a bit of detailing on now, and add some white lines, I think. I have been working on my car loading system. The car loader that you saw last time, I improved on it like I said I would, and what I've done is added some yellow hashing and red lining on the roof, and just made it a bit more detailed really. What I've also done is added a false set of doors. I just detailed the ends just slightly, just to show some of the wooden structure on the end of the door, and just to give this a false sort of door, so that when I want it to be sitting in the station loading, I can put this in place. And it's just got a little bit of double-sided tape at the top, so I just push that in place like that, and that now sits looking like the doors are open, ready to receive the cars. And what I also did, as well as the barrier over the other side, you can see that yellow barrier, there will be one this side, as there's plates that fall down, which I've already mentioned. And to simulate a ramp, I just wanted something I could put there and take away, so I've made something in the same sort of colours that will sit down between the track and the car loading device, like that. And I can just take it out when I'm not using it, so I'm sort of demonstrating it being loaded now. So with the ramp there and the doors, the false doors on the back, it now looks like it's being loaded. So I can pose a car going up the ramp and being waved into the govs. So what remains is me finishing this area off here. And as I said, the white lining, and I want it to be a covered area. So it looks a bit like Olympia, but obviously this is just going to be a small regional Motorail depot, as I can't make it very big. And we'll have to imagine there's some off-road parking here where people long-term wait for the Motorail sort of train to arrive and then go through the barrier and then sort of check their tickets, and then they're in the final car park waiting to be loaded. Well, that's my story anyway. Hopefully that fits with the layout. Now for a bit more detailing, just to, I won't say finish off the parking area, because I'm not quite sure what arrows and white lining I want to add, possibly later. But we'll put a ticket up there. There's already a pigeon sitting on the roof. And this barrier will glue down. And some other barriers will glue down. Right, start adding the rest of the stuff. I'll add some more cars. One there. No one there. Not a lot of car parking space, I must admit. It's quite tight to fit everything in. Well, I'll bring up the loading wagon, put that into place. And add my bits of detailing. So first of all, the doors up this end, my false doors, sit on there, then the ramp just fits between the platform and the wagon, so that's all ready to take vehicles. And let's put a Metro drive on. In fact, I'll put the Metro on the loader. Starting to drive in, and we'll put a bond bug climbing up the slope, if it'll go up the slope. Probably not a good choice, because it's only got 3 wheels. But anyway, the bond bug is on there, and I'll say put a mini coming up here on that, so it's all being loaded. Put the guy facing the right way, waving people on. Another guy checking the ramp. That's just fallen over. Oh, yeah, a pair of tweezers when you're dealing with these guys is worth using. He's sort of keeping it on the ramp over the back. You probably can't see him actually, because the kiosk is in the way. So if I wind the camera up and look down at it a bit better. Right, so we've got a bit of action. It's being loaded. And there's just one final thing I have to add, and I'll back away to show you. final thing for now I'm going to add. It does need weathering, but it's a canopy. And if I can get it in between everything. Oops. To readjust the guy. He's just off doing his own thing over there. Anyway, I now have a canopy with a Motorail terminal sign on the front, and I think that represents a Motorail depot quite well. Oops, zoom out and you see all my old junk down here. Well, it's not junk actually, it's good stuff. But I've got a shelf just off scene. So if I move the camera forward, you won't see so much of that. But that's it. I will be adding more stuff as I go, but I think that's pretty good myself, and I'm quite happy with that. There's more white lining I can add and other detailing and weathering, but I think that looks somewhat like what I've seen in photos. What does let it down, there's no drivers in the vehicle, but hey ho, I don't really want to break into these vehicles and damage them. It's really a question of just putting the driver out of scene really. So if I touched the car like that, you wouldn't know there wasn't a driver. But that's being a perfectionist.
let's butt up and couple up. That's the only trouble with magnets. They look quite realistic once they're coupled, but when they're actually coupling, there's this jump as they attract to each other because they're magnets. So not as realistic as coupling up, say, a small D connector, but then maybe better looking and more versatile than a D tension knot. So you pays your money and takes your choice, really. Nobody's come up with the perfect couple yet, I don't think. These are good, but as you can see, that's not very realistic when they do couple. I will be adding overhead gantries eventually through the station to electrify these lines. It's not present at the moment. I will have to cut them down to size, and also at Broxbourne they do go through the canopies, so I'll be cutting them through the canopies as well. So it's a future job I've got to do just to make it more realistic, as it's not electrified and we've got electric trains running through here.
Quite frankly, I think this one is finished now, but I keep looking at it and I keep thinking of other things I can add. It's such an interesting project and a great one to detail. I've just added lighting, as you can see, and this has brought the scene to life. I love it, it's great, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this update as well, and it inspires you to get into the hobby or continue with the hobby. So thanks again for watching, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you again next time with something different when I can think of it. Bye for now. You will notice that I've got no overhead gantries for the I've just noticed my pantograph has been ripped off. Obviously it's a bit high under one of the tunnels, and that is the problem. That's why I can't really electrify this part of the layout. I just had a bit of a panic as the pantograph got ripped off, and I thought, oh god, it's underneath one of the tunnels, but it looks like I found it just at the entrance to one of the tunnels. Yeah, another hazard and a real pain in the bum. Well, panic over, I've re-glued it and hopefully it'll be a bit lower down than it was. So I should be right running it again round these loops, but yeah, I do sort of panic a bit when they go underneath the tunnels, because I'm not sure what's hanging down. There could be a bit of wiring that hangs down. Well, the 87's all fixed now and she can be on her way again. One problem fixed until the next problem. It's never ending. Right, let's see if the coupling I put in place is any good. No. I can see from here it's dropped off. God. Talk about bad luck. It's probably the hot weather. It's made the epoxy glue just give out, I think, because it's so warm. Back to the drawing board. Luck would have it, I was able to bend it back into place as it's still a bit soft, and hopefully once it couples up it will hold in position until it finally hardens. Let's butt up and couple up. And let's hope the new coupling system I put on, which is one of these sort of flexible pockets, stops it pulling off the gubs as the DVT goes round some of the bends, which was happening.
This car flat, car flat. No, it's not a car flat, is it? This car loader